As with any great mystery, Star Trek's so-called Lost Era has offered researchers a wealth of possibilities for decades. Spanning the years between the launch of the Enterprise B and Captain Picard taking command of the Enterprise D, so roughly 2293 to 2364, the Lost Era saw two Enterprises, interstellar conflicts, occupations, and Raptor's wings. It was a time when the galaxy was still largely uncharted, years before Voyager arrived in the Delta Quadrant or the discovery of the Bajoran wormhole. Empires were shadowy, ships were undermanned, and secret agencies operated outside of tracked territories. In 2025, two new canon entries to the franchise offered more context for this period. Star Trek Section 31 was set in the early 2320s, featured a future Enterprise captain, and saw a crossover with another universe. Star Trek Can, set 30 years earlier, depicted Starfleet at an earlier stage of exploration, though one still focused on discovery and truth. These new entries to canon also add to our previous exploration of the Lost Era. Where these examples expand the canon is also where the canon must become malleable. There are dozens more examples of what was happening during that period, many of which have now been canonized on screen. It is not enough to simply open a history book and trace events through time. Canonization must now come with context, and that context with explanation. As a writer and sometimes historian, this one really is one of the more fun parts of the job. I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here is 10 things we now know about the Lost Era.
Hi, I'm Diane Rillick, Relation, and we sell relics from before the burn. And holy snake me, do we have some news for you. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown releases this Wednesday, February 18th on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch 2. We all know the story, but what about telling it your way? Take command of the USS Voyager and make your own decisions. Embrace Borg technology, throw away the Prime Directive, and don't kill Tuvok. Well, maybe not that last one. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown is a survival strategy game with roguelike elements that'll test you more than the Kobayashi Maru ever would. They still do that at the Academy, right? Manage the ship and resources, repair damage, and maintain vital energy and life support systems. You're alone in the Delta Quadrant, so you gotta keep that ship in tip-top shape. Speaking of the Delta Quadrant, seize the opportunity to explore celestial bodies, strange anomalies, and search for resources in vast sections of space. Assign specialized crew to tasks, ship systems, and away missions. Crew skills matter in ship-to-ship combat and in the field. Just remember, no one is safe. Rewrite the canon of the show. Some characters might not even make it home. Remember, get your copy of Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown Wednesday, February 18th on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and the Switch 2. And remember, if it's a relic, it's by Rillick. I hope you got that cream, Duncan.
Looking forward to look back, the truth of SETI Alpha 5. If we consider the revelations from Star Trek Can as a prelude to the Lost Era, understanding the events that transpired during the Augment's exile on SETI Alpha 5 provides more context for the subsequent events. We've long known that Can and his remaining followers commandeered the USS Reliant in 2285, with the ensuing battles resulting in the death of Spock. Until 2025, Can was a single-minded villain ushering in a new era for Starfleet. By the time the Excelsior heads to SETI Alpha 5, months after James Kirk died in 2293, the records surrounding Can's exile had been sealed. This was, we discovered, part of the standard process of classifying any deceased captain's logs. Dr. Rosalind Lear, though her motivations were self-serving, was instrumental in clearing Kirk's name of any wrongdoing in regards to the exile. In short, the decades-long debate as to how the Enterprise didn't know SETI Alpha 6 was unstable is settled. There were instabilities, but nothing to suggest an explosion so soon after Can's arrival. While these discoveries do nothing to exonerate the Augments who murdered the team on Regular 1, marooned the crew of the Reliant, and caused the deaths of so many aboard the Enterprise, they do help to explain what drove them to madness. This mission, coming so soon after the events of Star Trek Generations' opening act, is crucial to understanding the foundations of the Lost Era. Why did Tuvok leave the service? Tuvok, it was established in Star Trek Voyager, left Starfleet for several decades early in his career. Until the revelations in Star Trek Khan, the only reason the audience had been given was Tuvok's discomfort around humans in general. Flashback depicts one of his earliest missions aboard the USS Excelsior, roughly 2 months out from Starfleet Academy. Despite trying to make a good impression on Captain Sulu with T, he was not opposed to voicing his opposition to his commander's violation of orders. He had also previously vocally opposed the Federation's peace talks with the Klingon Empire. Khan depicts Tuvok in the months following the launch of the Enterprise B. He was still serving aboard the Excelsior and was assigned to surveil Dr. Rosalind Lear. This raises an ethical dilemma for the young Vulcan. Lear's discovery of the Augment's conditions post-exile, as well as the revelation that she herself is the daughter of Khan Noonien Singh, broadens Tuvok's understanding of humanity. Despite Captain Sulu's resentment toward Khan and the Augments, Tuvok vows to fight for their rights in his career going forward. With this context, it can now be surmised that the reason for his departure from Starfleet was, at least in part, due to the conflict he must surely have encountered in his search for equal rights for Augments. Though this affects only a single Vulcan, it also presents the late 23rd and early 24th centuries as still being unkind times for Augments to live through. A nexus of possibility. In 2332, the Nexus energy ribbon returned to our part of the galaxy. Though time has no meaning within the phenomenon, one could also say James Kirk came along with it. This takes on a deeper significance when one considers the Lost Era novels The Art of the Impossible and Well of Souls. James T. Kirk captained 2 Enterprises and was, of course, present for the maiden voyage of a third. 2332 is also the year in which another Enterprise, this time the Enterprise C under the command of Rachel Garrett, was launched. We now know that the Nexus is connected to the name Enterprise, having been present at the launch of 2 and the destruction of a third. The Enterprise D's demise over Viridian 3 was followed by the ribbon swooping in to carry Soren and Picard away, moments before a massive shockwave obliterated the survivors. Don't worry, they got better. Timey-wimey. Had the Nexus simply returned any other year than 2332, it would be just another space curiosity with a very mixed reputation, travelling through space on its path to eternity. The specificity of that year connects the Enterprise lineage to the passing of a commander, the survival of another, and the entrenchment of another in the annals of history. Some nights on the Baram. By the early 2320s, Starfleet had begun to grow into the further reaches of the Alpha Quadrant, though the borders of Federation space were still edging on the wild west of the unknown. Enter Section 31, now roughly 200 years old and still operating from the shadows. A large space station resembling a Christmas tree ornament, named the Baram, sat just beyond the edge of Federation space, controlled by one Philippa Georgiou. She, formerly of the Terran Empire, operated a largely lawless facility, which was ideal for illicit trades and deals. This quickly drew attention from Alok Sahar, a Section 31 operative who was looking good for his age. The station was surrounded by several vessels that resembled one that would come in contact with the Enterprise D in 2368, some 50 years later. Dubbed the smuggler's ship, it was heavily armed, though it could easily fall foul of a well-placed phaser blast. Star Trek Section 31, set in 2324, depicts a fleet of these vessels, which now suggests they may be part of their own federation of smuggling. To be fair to the one that explodes after Worf fires on it, it may have been 50 years behind the times. Behind the times could also describe both Georgiou and her former flame and friend, San, who have both time-hopped as well as universe-hopped. There must be some decent geriatric care on that station because Georgiou looks well for her 120s, as she was born in 2202. This portion of the Lost Era is still largely mysterious, at least in this section of the galaxy. While Georgiou was trading jibes with future Enterprise Captain Rachel Garrett, the eyes of the galaxy were looking elsewhere. Not the last Cameloid. The jury's still out on this one. Are the Cameloids an offshoot of the Founders? Are Marta and Quasi 2 of the 100 infants sent out into space to explore? Are they adopted siblings of Odo and Laz? Or are they another mysterious race of which we know very little? Marta was introduced in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, where she displayed her shape-changing abilities during the escape from Rora Penthe. Though her journey was brought to an unceremonious end on the frozen surface of the penal asteroid, she was not the last of her kind. Quasi, a golden-eyed and awkward being, forms part of Alok Sahar's covert Section 31 team aboard the Baram. He is in complete control of his shape-changing abilities, though he is still mastering social interactions. One could argue, fair enough when the other person doesn't know who or what you really are. It's always best to put your best goo forward, so to speak. Quasi survives San's attack, while also helping Garrett seemingly kill Fuzz, the Irish Nanokan interloper. Nothing is known of his exploits beyond his final "your mama" joke, though he may have been one of several shape-changing people in the galaxy. Over on Daled 4 and Klavdia 3, there is yet another race that can seemingly change shape at will. Demonstrated by Celia in 2365, their natural form is a gaseous state in a roughly humanoid shape, suggesting they are different from Comaloids. However, in 2375, Odo became a cloud to give Colonel Kira Nerys a very special hug. So who knows really at this point? Shakespearean augmentation. So, Khan Noonien Singh has a surviving daughter. Dr. Rosalind Lear, clearly named for her father's admiration of the Bard, is revealed as Khan's child in Star Trek Khan. Though in reality there was very little shock in this bit of news, the implications could have far-reaching consequences for the Quadrant at that time. The Excelsior journeyed to Ceti Alpha 5 in the months following Kirk's apparent death aboard the Enterprise B. Lear was then in her 20s. The twist for the audience was less that she was Khan's daughter, and more that she was fully aware of this. The closing moments of Khan reveal that she is very much alive and active, with Ensign Tuvok pledging to fight for the rights of Augments. As Voyager historians will know, Tuvok then left the service for several decades. Thanks a bunch, Tuvok. Leaving Lear without an ally in Starfleet. Though she had dedicated her career to the pursuit of historical truth, she is also one of the last remnants of that age of eugenics in Earth's history. While Alok Sahar was at least a contemporary of Khan's, he is locked away as part of Section 31. He may seek Lear out once her parentage is revealed, though as of the recording of this, that remains unknown. Khan Noonien Singh, he of at least several nieces, one of whom served in Starfleet in the 2250s and 2260s, may be dead and gone, but his progeny lived on. Is Lear doomed to repeat her father's curse? Is the galaxy, now without Tuvok's support from within, ready to ostracize yet another augmented individual? We know that by the 2370s, genetically engineered people were still barred from serving in Starfleet. What life did, or possibly does, Dr. Rosalind Lear face during the Lost Era? The adventures of the USS LeonDegrance. The USS LeonDegrance entered service in the latter years of the 23rd century, remaining operational until the 2330s. From 2301 to 2305, Captain Nyota Uhura took the ship on an exploratory mission of the Lesser Magellanic Cloud. On that mission, the ship made first contact with over 100 new species. What exactly the Lesser Magellanic Cloud is or constitutes lacks clarity. The LeonDegrance's commemorative plaque names it so, though it could be a reference to the Small Magellanic Cloud that sits outside the borders of the Milky Way galaxy. Though that may cause havoc with a starship, as demonstrated in Where No Man Has Gone Before, Uhura herself travelled outside the galactic barrier in By Any Other Name. In short, we shouldn't make any assumptions. In 2317, the ship was retired from active exploration and became a training ship, aboard which many new Starfleet officers and cadets broke the lightspeed barrier for the first time. One such individual was Jean-Luc Picard, who received his entry certificate for the Faster Than Light Club here. This was later seen in his vault in Remembrance. The autobiography of Benjamin Sisko further states that Captain Sisko's maternal grandparents served aboard the ship, further connecting the various generations of Starfleet officers during this lost era of history. Captain Uhura remained in charge of the ship until her retirement in 2333. There were plans for a short trek to depict an elderly Uhura mentoring a young Jean-Luc Picard, but sadly, this never came to be. 2309. 2309 was a great year for the Siskos, with Joseph Sisko being born in this year. Klingon Bloodwine produced a vintage that, according to Martok and Kor in the 2370s, had never been surpassed. For all things good, some things are evil. For the Bajorans, it was a very, very bad year. 2309 was the year in which the Cardassians first arrived on Bajor, promising to help them grow their resources, while secretly planning to strip the world of everything it needed to survive. For nearly 6 decades, the Union plundered the homeworld, forced its inhabitants into poverty and starvation, and used slave labor to prosper. By the 2360s, the Bajorans, or Bajora, were an almost entirely nomadic race, though the resistance kept the flame alive. Full control over the planet began in 2319, though the previous decade saw the Cardassians firmly establish themselves as future rulers. Several different sources place the actual years of occupation at different times, including as late as 2328, though it roughly takes up the first half of the 24th century. Before the loss of the ship, the Enterprise B was assigned to patrol the Cardassian border and help fleeing Bajorans. Much like several contemporary examples today, Starfleet opted not to get involved, leaving the overpowered world to fend for itself, though it did occasionally provide aid where possible. Spock and Saavik are married. By 2329, Sarek's son was married in a ceremony that was attended by Jean-Luc Picard. As Sybok, Sarek's currently only known other son, died in the 23rd century, that suggests it was none other than Spock himself who was married. Thanks to sources like 765874 Unification and the novel Vulcan's Heart by Josepha Sherman and Susan Schwartz, we know that he was bonded to Saavik. While both sources could be considered apocryphal, seeing Saavik with her son Sorak in Otoy's short film released in 2024 seemingly confirms that Spock did not die childless, and that Saavik survived into the 24th century, and that there was at least a partial family reunion. Saavik's career after her tenure on the Enterprise and Grissom is also given more depth in Star Trek Picard. She captained the original USS Titan, with the Titan A carrying a shuttlecraft named in her honor. While saying that, this shuttle is destroyed quickly after the ship arrives in the Riken system. Perhaps it is best to concentrate on the positive elements of what we've discovered, such as her continuing to thrive through the 24th century. Much of Saavik, Spock, and Sorak's lives through the Lost Era is unknown. While Vulcan romance and family life may look a little different from what humans are used to seeing, it is still cathartic to imagine that they had, in a way, their own happy ending. What hope is there for the history of the future now? We at TrekCulture have never shied away from espousing our interest in the Lost Era. There is a wealth of opportunity to explore Starfleet's growth from the Wild West of Kirk and Sulu's days to the relative stability of Picard's. The Quadrants take a beating in the latter half of the 24th century, whereas the early half was about establishing peace. What of the Tolmed incident? What of the Tetrapa Nebula skirmish? With the franchise's focus on the future and Starfleet Academy's 32nd century setting, the chances of exploring these lost years seem increasingly remote as the years pass. We may never get a Star Trek Legacy, though what of a Star Trek The Lost Years series? Perhaps unlikely. And this may be an idea relegated to expanded media, but if Beta Canon has taught us anything, it's that every ship in the fleet has its own story to tell. There are 2 Enterprises whose exploits are largely unknown. The chances of exploring the history of the Lost Era on screen are fleeting. But we shall never say never. No one expected a Khan miniseries to bring Tim Russ and George Takei back to Star Trek, and then it happened. Starfleet Academy teases us all with their Wall of Heroes. Many of those stories still need to be told. One thing is for sure, we will be ready and waiting for them once they are. That is everything for our list today, folks. Thank you so much for watching along. You are awesome. You are wonderful. Thank you so much, Brandon, who edited this video. You are awesome too. Please make sure you're following us on the various socials. We are at TrekCulture or at TrekCultureYT on Instagram. I am at Sean Ferrick as well. You are brilliant. Look after yourself. Live long and prosper. The world is a crazy, crazy place right now, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for at least the foreseeable future. So it's one day at a time. It's look after yourself, your friends, and your family. The reason I say this as much as I do is because I truly, truly believe in it. Folks, we're going to get there in the end. One day at a time. Thank you so much.